Hello everyone, welcome back to some League of Legends DFS esports breakdown for Worlds Play-ins Day 2. A couple interesting slates today we will go ahead and talk about, but first thing I should mention is day number 1 is still going on at the time of recording this. I'm trying to get this video out at least somewhat in advance ahead of tomorrow's slate, and we're not going to know everything by now, obviously. I think this is not the worst thing because the initial plan already was to kind of go ahead and try and at least stick out 2 days with our initial glances and leans, and then we can go ahead and adapt from there. As you guys can see, these kind of stats are up to date. I do believe DFM has taken down Loud. Maybe they're playing right now. I'm not sure, but every favorite I believe has won so far. Things have not been too intriguing. There have been a couple interesting spots, but we'll talk about them today, as we continue forward. But ultimately, every favorite has won so far. That typically is not a good sign for us. So we'll try and, talk about these things here today. So, we'll continue and try and keep our initial leans at least for one more day, maybe nerves and that kind of thing coming into play for some of these teams day one. But there are some things that were interesting. I think Mad Lions looked a little bit slow and definitely had some chances to lose these games. I wasn't all too impressed with them. However, we don't have a really chance to pick on them for a while, so nothing to take note of there. I do think Chiefs actually looked pretty intriguing. I think, again, I picked them to beat Fnatic here. They did not do so, but I think they are going to continue to be pretty interesting, at least for tomorrow. I think they have a pretty winnable game against DFM, but again, we don't know what DFM is looking like as of quite now. I'll try to keep like an update out on Twitter or something like that, but overall, I think Fnatic looking pretty strong. I wasn't too impressed with Mad Lions. EG looked very weak. I'm typically always on the fade North America train. That'll be interesting to see the line of Loud versus EG. Loud didn't look great either today, so maybe we can't be too harsh on them. But it'll be interesting to see some of these lines and stuff, and we'll go from there. So. We'll go ahead and get started. So the first slate up is the 3-gamer course. We have Fnatic, Detonation, Focus Me, EG, Loud, and then Saigon Buffalo versus Isurus. We do not know really how Saigon's looking right now. I think odds-wise, Saigon is getting pretty heavily steamed at the moment. I can't foresee all 3 of these games being favorite based. I could definitely see one of these teams losing. It's just kind of picking your spot and guessing which one. Again, it'd be nice to have a little bit of an idea on maybe how Saigon Buffalo is looking, because they're a team that I do like. I like to cheer for Saigon Buffalo, except I think they just have the odds behind them pretty heavily, and I'm not entirely sure why. They did have decent MSI, of course, but that's still like a price tag that I just cannot get behind for Saigon Buffalo overall. And then Evil Geniuses versus Loud as well. That one seems pretty crazy. I know EG are like I don't want to be a typical NA doomer to say like per se, but I don't know. EG looked really, really lifeless yesterday. They were making a ton of mistakes. Granted, I do think Fnatic looked really, really great. I do think they are probably the favorite to win the group at this point, I'd have to say for sure, but EG looked really bad, so I don't mind taking a shot here with either one of these dogs. I don't know which direction I'm going to go for sure. It would probably be the Saigon Buffalo versus Isurus line. However, I think I'm going to be leaving EG out of my lineups. I think I'm willing to pair them up with Fnatic here. I just feel like overall Saigon Buffalo has overall been pretty overrated, especially just from the odds and markets that we've seen so far. They seem to be pretty decently favored in pretty much all of their games, and I'm just not seeing that level quite there. So maybe these odds are going to change dramatically. Like if Saigon Buffalo were to lose to the Wildcats today or something, then these lines will change a lot. But as of right now, obviously I'll try to get updates out and stuff, but I like going with Isurus here over Saigon Buffalo. I didn't think Isurus was that bad yesterday against Mad Lions, and they impressed me a little bit. and we just have not seen that much. We just haven't seen Saigon Buffalo, and I just can't imagine that they are worth this level of odds. EG versus Loud, again, we just kind of touched on this. I don't think EG is that good. I think these teams are a little bit closer than it's suspected. I do think EG will probably get the win, but at these odds, this is a little bit of an exaggerated price tag in my opinion. And then Fnatic DFM, I do think again this is a little bit exaggerative. I feel like these all three of these favorites are just a little bit too favored, to be honest. I just have a hard time kind of picking one out here, and I feel like you might as well just kind of go with the one where it's the two kind of lowest level of team with between Saigon Buffalo and Isurus. And I feel like EG played really slow day one. Granted, I don't think Fnatic played with that much pace either, so I don't know really how any of these games are going to shape out. Between the kill wise, we'll go ahead and bring up the stats so far from these teams, or not so far, but from those most recent splits, we could see Isurus played pretty slow at about 23. Saigon Buffalo played pretty quickly at 27. EG and Loud, we could see Loud at about 28. They play quickly. EG playing relatively slow at 25. And of course, Fnatic and DFM both play pretty slow, so that's definitely one you would try to look to avoid. You would try to get probably more so of this EG Loud and Saigon Buffalo Isurus matchup. I'm probably looking to make this one pretty straightforward and go with Isurus and EG. This is probably going to be, I'd imagine, one of the more chalky builds. I'm not sure. Again, ownership has never been my strong suit, but I wouldn't be fully opposed to if going with like an Isurus Saigon Buffalo game stack here. Although the numbers again are not great for Isurus, I think they actually looked relatively spry and decent ish for DK going forward, and from that game with Mad. So I'm willing to go with Isurus here, and I'm willing to go with probably pair them up with EG and then leave off this Fnatic DFM game overall for slate number 1. Moving it forward to slate number 2, again, we still fortunately get to avoid RNG because we know they're going to be huge favorites. This one's going to be pretty intriguing. I think there's a couple interesting spots here. Off the bat, DFM versus Chiefs. Again, Chiefs were a team I just touched on, and we were, that I just mentioned. Of course, I do think Chiefs are looking like a spot I'm going to be going back to a good bit here. DFM is a pretty clean team. I don't particularly love this matchup. Again, I do favor DFM like a good bit in terms of being a team that's probably not going to get upset very often. I think they're relatively clean standard. They're kind of a little bit like the old Korean teams where they just kind of didn't lose these favorite matchups. They just have like a consistent level of play that's hard to overcome. So I think there's a pretty decent shout there, but I'm willing to go with Chiefs again. Again, we did see Chiefs. I have not seen DFM yet. Obviously, they're still playing kind of like right as I record this video, so I'll try and update as best as possible if anything changes too much. But I can't imagine a one-game sample would change too much for these teams. So I'm probably going to be looking at this Chiefs underdog side here in the second series of games. However, I think there's a couple more options open as well. Beyond versus EG, I don't love this game overall. I do think EG probably get the win. I'm not the biggest fan of Beyond. I'm not a really big fan of this series overall, but again, it's just really hard to back EG. They just looked so lifeless day one. I'm not a big proponent of them really altogether anyway. I might end up having to go with EG just because when I transition over to talking about this third game here, I'm going to go with Saigon Buffalo over DRX. DRX, I think, is getting way too much credit here, being the fourth team from the LCK, and I think the LCK is being extremely overrated overall. That'll be probably a theme going forward throughout the overall group stages, not just in the play-ins, but obviously in the play-ins there's only the one Korean team in DRX. But when we get to the main world's group of stages, I think fading the LCK is going to be pretty heavily it's going to be the game plan that I have going forward. And And I think there's a pretty decent spot here. Again, I don't particularly love the fact that we do have like two pretty decent underdogs here. I don't love the prospect of having to or like going to of like building in a way where you have like a Saigon Buffalo underdog with the Chiefs esports underdog in the second series here. I don't think that's the craziest thing, especially in like big GPPs. If you wanted to take like a wild dart throw there, just because as we talk about like beyond an EG, beyond 33, EG 25, that's a pretty slow series overall. DFM Chiefs, obviously we know Chiefs is going to be pretty high up there. DFM's about there. DRX is about 25. Saigon's pretty high up there. So we don't really have a high octane game quite yet that we can like look to go heavily on. So I'd be willing to take some shots here with Saigon Buffalo against DRX. I don't particularly love the Korean side of things here. Maybe they'll have a strong showing against RNG, or maybe here after this DRX Saigon Buffalo game. I'm not sure. I know it's a little bit. I'm trying to think of the word, but it's a little bit odd, I guess, for me to pick against Saigon Buffalo and have them losing to a team like Isurus, and then pick them to beat a team like DRX, which probably seems a little bit crazy. But that's just kind of like the way these games work, and they're not entirely connected. Just kind of the way the game breaks down sometimes is things can get going one way or another, and who knows what will happen, especially between kind of now and then. I don't think you can entirely view these like as a whole day of having a team kind of sleep a whole day like that. I expect Saigon Buffalo to go ahead and beat Isurus, but again, I think the odds are just a little bit too crazy there, so that's why I'm going with the Isurus side. But I just don't see it there with this DRX minus 700, especially in a best of one. Things can get pretty random. We know Saigon Buffalo has the ability to snowball a lead. We know DRX has been rocky throughout all of the year. Minus 700 just seems pretty egregious to me, in my opinion. So I'm definitely looking to go with Saigon Buffalo. If you want a little bit of a tamer underdog, I do think Chiefs are looking pretty spry. I like that option as well. And unfortunately, I'd be willing to pair them together. I might be able to convince myself to do so. However, I think pairing them up with that EG, that might be like somewhat of a stable pick. I think EG could bounce back there. Maybe they'll probably win their series or their match against Loud as well. Who knows? But I'd be willing to go with EG and then maybe pair them up. But I wouldn't be crazy to go, I think, with Chiefs and Saigon Buffalo for the second series. When it comes down to the third series, I'm unfortunately going to probably just have to take another pass here. They have RNG slated in these final games. It's just pretty decent for being able to fade them and stuff. They have minus 500 favorite, minus 1,000 favorite. I'm just not going to get involved here in this two-gamer. I'm not going to waste your guys' time. We already have delays on delays, weird stuff happening everywhere. I'm not going to waste your guys' time on that one. Probably RNG win, DRX win. I'm not going to overcomplicate that one, but you can maybe have a bit of a dart throw on like Istanbul Wildcats win over DRX money line, but I can't really see them having two defeats in the same day, especially so close to each other. I'm not sure about that one, but I definitely see it a lot more hopeful with Saigon Buffalo. I think this is like a relatively decent price tag on them. Yeah, I think that's going to be it for me today. Again, we kind of went over 2 today. I know both my lineups. The first one already lost. The second one is dead already. So over 2 on the day. Hopefully we can turn it around and have a little bit of a better day too. But yeah, I think overall that'll be it for me tonight. I will see you guys hopefully again tomorrow. Hopefully at a little bit of a better time where we have all the information. Hopefully the delays don't get as crazy tomorrow. So yeah, I think that'll be it. Do we want to talk about? Yeah, we should talk about players. Sorry, did kind of forget to run through those. Let's see. I think we could kind of speed run it. I think we have a good idea from yesterday in terms of what we're looking at here. So from Loud, I think mostly everybody's in the good area. I think for Saigon Buffalo, I believe everyone except for their top laner, we could take a look. Saigon Buffalo. Yeah, their top laner is pretty low. Everyone else is pretty fine, especially Froggy, Shogun, and Taki at all above 70%. think pretty much, yeah, everyone but their top. You could maybe have a case to try to leave off B and J, but I think overall you're probably going to want the jungler involved in that stack. Again, we talked about Loud yesterday. I think for Chiefs, it seems like Tally was incredibly outclassed by Fnatic, but again, I'm not be opposed to going back there. Humanoid just looked really good all day yesterday, so I don't know if you want to go too far perusing into Tally in that one. I wonder if there's anything else there. I think, yeah, we kind of talked about that yesterday. I don't know if there's a really great place to get a top laner here. Tupoon was not great. Don't really love DRX. You could probably look to go to Impact, but again, I don't think his numbers are particularly great either. Let's see. Oh, they have their play-in stats now. That's unfortunate. See stats by split. I'd imagine he's in the 40 or 50s to 55 range if it loads. 58. That's actually pretty good. I'd definitely be 63 in the summer. Yeah, you could definitely look to Impact for the second series. So, yeah, I think, unfortunately, this is going to be a little bit of a shorter video. Not as much info and stuff. Hopefully, you guys can still get some use out of it. But just all the delays and everything kind of left this as shortly made as possible. So, hopefully, we can kind of get a little bit back in terms of making a better output for tomorrow. And hopefully our picks do a little bit better as well. So thank you guys for tuning in. I'll see you guys then.